Good evening. So we left off last night in talking about the story of the goddesses coming to Paris, where we found out they come to him, he's a shepherd, but actually the secret is that he's a prince. And the question in your mind should be, well, wait a minute, if he's a prince, very high status position, then what does he do in being a shepherd? Well, here's the story, the backstory behind that. Before he was born, Hecuba, his mom, Queen of Troy, dreamed that she gave birth to a torch. Not necessarily an uncommon thing. I'm pretty sure my wife had some funny dreams when she was pregnant, and gosh, what if I give birth to a cabbage or whatever? I think it's just one of those things where a woman's nervous about a pregnancy, and so that's kind of an interesting thing to give birth to, the whole torch thing. And they want to know, how do I interpret that dream, right? It wasn't just, well, I had a strange dream. It's, what's the interpretation of that? What's this mean? And the interpretation of the dream was that if the child lives, Troy will be burned to the ground. That the child is a torch, figuratively. And if that child lives, Troy will be burned to the ground. Well, here's the king. He's kind of like, wow, I got to think about my people. What am I going to do? I can't let Troy burn to the ground. So they do what mythological parents do sometimes, and they put the child out in the woods. Now, when I say child, I mean baby. Now, why do they put the baby in the woods? Uh, they're hoping that a wild animal will get it, it will die of exposure, or something along those lines. Why do they not just kill it outright? Well, what's going to happen if you do that? Well, you're killing kin, and then the Furies are going to come after you, and that sort of thing. But if you put the child in the woods, you're not technically killing the child. I mean, you are really, but you're not technically killing the child, and so you're not going to incite the wrath of the Furies. Now, the problem with this is Paris was nursed by a bear and found by a shepherd. And so the shepherd takes him as his own. Paris becomes a shepherd, right? Because back in the day, you pretty much did what your dad was going to do, or obviously women were just going to be in the house. But if you were a male, you pretty much followed in your father's footsteps. So he ends up being a shepherd, and he marries a wood nymph named Oinone. I can move this up a little bit here. Quick picture here. So there is the happy couple. There's Paris, the shepherd, Oinone, his wife, and you'll notice there's a little Cupid back here, and that's really a little Cupid too, which is to indicate romantic love. But the torch is significant. Now, it's significant in the sense that torches were a symbol of marriage back in the day, but of course you also have the double meaning there with the dream that of Paris being the torch that will burn down Troy. All right, so back to the goddesses who come to Paris, and what they say to him is they say, "Look, don't judge us on our beauty. Judge us based on the gift that we have to give to you." He says, "Okay." So Hera promises him royal power. "I will make you a king. You will be a king if you pick me." And Athena says, "If you pick me, I will give you battle skills. You will be a great general." And Aphrodite says, "If you pick me, I will give you the most beautiful woman in the world." Now, any guess as to what Paris picks? Well, he picks Aphrodite. Not probably a huge surprise there, but he picks Aphrodite. And she tells him, "I will be back. You can't collect on your promise just yet, but I will be back to help you accomplish this later. And we shall pick it up again tomorrow. Have a good evening."